The autumn wind is blowing through Las Vegas again, and this time, Raider Nation has real reason to believe. 3 headlines that will change how you see this season. Kirk Cousins riding an Uber down the strip, while the quarterback battle simmers behind the scenes. The nose tackle, the defensive coordinator personally handpicked, who could be the key to the new defense. And 2 names the fan base is completely sleeping on, and shouldn't be. Who's going to be the QB1 when things get real in September? Does the defensive line have genuine depth, or is it all smoke and mirrors? And which under-the-radar player could steal the show at training camp? Buckle up and hit that like button, because what I'm about to tell you changes everything for the Raiders. Let's get straight to it. Kirk Cousins was spotted last week at a Vegas Golden Knights game, catching an Uber down the strip, trying to blend into the crowd at Caesars Palace. The Raiders' #1 quarterback, 37 years old, 4-time Pro Bowler, just out here moving through Las Vegas like a regular tourist. Relatable? Absolutely. But this is bigger than a story about adjusting to a new city. This is the signal that the season hasn't even started yet, and the quarterback competition narrative is already at a full boil. Cousins made it crystal clear at the Golden Knights game. The fans are dying to root for us. We have to give them something to cheer about. That's not the voice of a mentor. That's a quarterback who wants his field back. Now here's the context you need to understand. Klint Kubiak, the new head coach who arrived with a Super Bowl ring from his time with the Seahawks, worked side by side with Cousins for 3 seasons in Minnesota. First as quarterbacks coach, then as offensive coordinator. Under Kubiak, Cousins ranked 4th in the league in passer rating, throwing for 94 touchdowns over 3 years. These two know each other at the deepest level of the game. It's no accident that Cousins landed in Las Vegas right after Kubiak took over. But here's my take, and it's going to rub some people the wrong way. Cousins' contract is, in practice, a genius move by the front office. The Raiders are only on the hook for a $1.3 million base salary in 2026. The rest of the $20 million guaranteed is covered by the Falcons and a future bonus. In real cap terms this season, Cousins is practically free. And Kubiak has been upfront. The plan is to have a seasoned veteran on the field, while Fernando Mendoza learns the system behind the scenes. The problem? This fan base has zero patience for a process. If the Raiders come out of September with back-to-back losses, the noise for Mendoza will be deafening, and Cousins knows it. He didn't come to Las Vegas to be a teacher. He came to win. When he stops riding Ubers and starts moving down the field, that's when the real judgment begins. Think that was the big news? Hold on, because it gets better. The Raiders just signed DT Benito Jones, 335 pounds of pure space-eating power, and in return shipped Broderick Martin, a 3rd-round pick who never found his footing, to injured reserve/waiver. Let's break this move down, because it says a lot about how this front office is thinking. Benito Jones, 6 seasons in the NFL, started as an undrafted free agent with the Dolphins in 2020, bounced to Detroit, back to Miami, and now lands in Henderson. Career totals: 83 tackles, 3.5 sacks, and 10 tackles for loss. He's not a playmaker. He's the guy who swallows 2 blockers at once and springs the linebackers to do the dirty work. Over the last 3 seasons, he's made 38 starts between the Lions and Dolphins. And here's the detail most fans completely missed. Rob Leonard, the new defensive coordinator, served as a defensive line assistant coach with the Dolphins, right when Jones arrived as a rookie in 2020. Leonard knows Jones from day one of his career. He knows how to use him, knows what to expect, trusts the guy. When a coordinator goes out of his way to bring in the exact player he coached early in that player's career, that's not a coincidence. That's a philosophy being put into action. The Raiders are going to run a base 3-4 under Leonard, and Jones fits the nose tackle role in that structure like a glove. Right player, right system. Now, the part that stings, this signing was necessary because the team entered the final stretch of the offseason with the nose tackle position completely unresolved. Not in free agency, not in the draft. A glaring hole patched up late with a functional but not transformational player. And the bigger issue? Broderick Martin, a third-round pick who never showed anything, walks out with his injury situation still unclear. Just another painful page in the roster mismanagement chapter this new front office inherited. Jones is the start of the solution, not the end of one. All right, this last part is for the fans who follow this team beyond the clickbait headlines. Because while everyone's talking about Cousins in an Uber and Jones plugging a hole, there are two guys on this roster who could completely change the conversation about this defensive line, and almost nobody is paying attention. The first is Gary Smith III, a freshly signed undrafted free agent. That usually gets filed straight into the who cares folder, but something's different here. Smith dropped 44 pounds after a serious injury in 2024. And that's left him visibly more explosive and quicker off the line than in any previous season. Specialists in film study, like Kevin Fielder over at Wide Left, point out that the combination of raw power, aggressive hands, and that newfound burst make him a legitimate candidate to compete for nose tackle snaps. He's not coming in as a starter, but he's exactly the kind of surprise that shows up at training camp and forces the coaching staff to stop and take a second look. The second is Brandon Cleveland, a seventh-round pick out of NC State. Seventh round. Everyone writes those guys off instantly, but Eric Galko from the Shrine Bowl was very specific. Cleveland stands 6'4", has the interior strength to hold the point of attack in the run game, and racked up 7 tackles for loss in 2025 alone, with 10 over the last 2 years. For a seventh-round pick, that kind of backfield penetration and production is the exact profile of a guy who fights his way onto the final 53 and turns heads. Look at what's quietly being built here. Jones as the starter, Cleveland developing every single day in practice, and Smith III as a wild card. If either of those young guys breaks out during training camp, Leonard could be rotating this line in a way that opposing offenses simply won't be ready for. The 3-4 works when you have real interior depth, and the Raiders might be building exactly that with low-cost, high-upside players while the fan base is staring at the marquee moves. NFL history is full of defensive lines assembled exactly like this. No glamour, no SportsCenter headline that delivered when it mattered most down the stretch with playoff implications still on the table. Keep your eyes on Smith III and Cleveland at training camp. This might be the most important heads-up you hear before August. So here's the quick breakdown. Cousins arrives in Las Vegas with veteran pedigree, a proven connection with Kubiak going back to their Minnesota days, and a contract the front office built with masterful cap management. Benito Jones fills the nose tackle void with the full blessing of the coordinator who's known him for years, and 2 virtually unknown players could be the wild cards nobody saw coming on that defensive line. It's a real rebuild. It's a process. It requires patience. But this fan base isn't going to want to hear that for very long. And that brings us to the question you can't avoid. If Cousins puts together 4 bad games in a row come October, do you support handing the keys to Mendoza right then and there, even if it's the rookie's first year? Or do you ride with the veteran through the rest of the season and accept burning a year of development from your number 1 pick? Drop it in the comments. I want to know where Raider Nation stands.